Hello, everybody. So this is my functional area project that I did. Um, I chose to do it on law admissions, and um, I wanted to be a little more specific than just admissions, and so I chose to work with the law school next door to the college that I work at. And so this is my project. So, some of the history of Washington and Lee's School of Law is that it was founded in 1849, which was 100 years after Washington College was founded, which then later became known as Washington and Lee University after the Civil War. And actually, Robert E. Lee helped to create the law school, although it was kind of very much just bringing in like law professors and not necessarily having a school yet, but he was integral in that process. And then Washington and Lee School of Law continues to be one of the top tiered law schools in the country as well. So, who I interviewed, her name was Rachel Hubbard. She was the assistant director of law admissions. She's worked there for 2 years. Part of her job is event planning, communication with the students and the faculty and staff. She also facilitates campus visits. This weekend they had a big open house they were doing, so they were getting ready for that as well. One of the things that she mentioned when she was talking to me about this was admissions counselors and admission officers and offices kind of serve as gatekeepers for the school. So they get people all the time that are asking, who do I talk to about this? Where do I go for this information? I'm looking for things about the town. Can you tell me? And that's what a lot of her job is just facilitating people and projects and professors as well. So the mission of Washington and Lee School of Law is actually a pretty short and to the point mission. I've studied school missions and statements in past classes, and this does a really good job of just saying they seek to cultivate broad-minded, highly skilled, and honorable practitioners of law. And then it also turns around to say, how do they do that? And they do it within diversity and collaborative intellectual community. And they're going to do that by exemplifying rigor, trust, and civility. So it kind of hits the big three of what are they doing, how are they going to do it, and what's the purpose of them doing this. So some of the program elements that they have are it's a 3-year full-time program. When the students graduate, they graduate with their Juris Doctorate, and then they go on to practice whatever law they'd like to practice. Part of the law school's elements is that they have incoming classes around 125 people each year, although they get about 3,000 applications each year as well. The program is made up of the associate dean, the director, and then the assistant director. And then above all of them, you have the dean of the law school that they all answer to. So, some of the current challenges that I asked Rachel about in the law school is, what do you see in trends? What do you see is some of the issues? And she said a lot of what we've seen, it comes out of the byproduct of the 2008 recession. So law school numbers have actually decreased. And so she says that and what we tend to know is in higher ed is that when the economy is bad, people go back to school. And now that the economy has gotten better, or for some, I guess, arguably better, the numbers have actually decreased because people don't want to go back to school because the cost of that is greater than if they just went and got a job, and the benefit is actually less than as well. One of the other current challenges that she talked about is creating diversity with only 125 students. A lot of what they deal with are socioeconomics, their backgrounds, ethnicities, and you want to have all of that in each school. So one, you can present to your bigger boards and say, hey, we're hitting all the right marks, but then only have 125 students in that class. So it's very difficult to kind of hit your mark sometimes with that small amount of number. One of the other things that I was going to talk about is the history of Washington and Lee. One of the things, and so in one of my other classes, we're talking about the Morrill Act right now, and this is kind of a byproduct of that. The funding coming out of the federal government and a push to create bigger and larger classes and different classes is kind of what pushed the creation of having law classes, because you wanted to have more useful in air quotes classes for students to attend, but then that also created state funding as well. The other interesting thing about Washington and Lee School of Law is it is in Lexington, Virginia, so which is actually an interesting concept in itself, because the Morrill Act comes out of the Civil War, and Lexington is actually a very big part of the Civil War's history. But that's kind of everything that I have for this project. I think it was interesting to see not only an admissions perspective, but a law admissions perspective. And so anyhow, I hope you all learned a little bit. You're a little more educated on it, and thanks for listening.